Hello and welcome to another episode of The Arts Are the Answer, a co-production of the Arts Council for Monterey County and Access Monterey Peninsula. I'm Steve Elzey, Executive Producer for AMP.
And I'm Paulette Lynch, Executive Director of the Arts Council for Monterey County. Over the next 30 minutes, we'll be talking with artists and arts organizations about how art touches our lives, bringing joy and passion.
And also how the arts can affect positive change in so many areas of our lives. And it all starts right now.
I'm here today with Wendy Brickman of Brickman Marketing, and I am so thrilled to have her here. She has hundreds of clients that she's worked with over the past 22 years in our region alone, and she's won many awards for her community service. And so we're here to talk about the county fair and wine fest and so many different things that she's involved with, and even some great ideas for later on. So Wendy, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for asking me, Paulette. It's great to see you.
Thank you. So let's start with the county fair. I know that over the years it's become such a wonderful part of the arts, has become such a wonderful part of the fair. And so if you could just talk about that and maybe how people would get involved if they were so inclined.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, the artists are encouraged to enter the fair, and it's only $2 or $3 per
That's
item.
amazing.
So it's very, very affordable, unlike other competitions. And they can actually sell their product there, and there's a whole building devoted to the arts, and 75,000 people come to the fair. So the next one will be August 28th through September 2nd.
Wonderful.
And people can simply enter online at MontereyCountyFair.com. And we talked about the different types. So they have three-dimensional and two-dimensional, bronze, weaving, ceramics, paper, glass, jewelry, baskets, paintings, videos, everything.
That is so amazing. So it seems like it's a wonderful way for people to get started showing their work. I know sometimes people are so good and they'll show their work to their friends and family. They'll even work for years and years and years, but not quite be ready to show. But at the fair, when I go, I see the way the fair displays the work. It's so respectful, so inviting, and because it's affordable to enter, it just seems like if there's anybody who is just thinking about now how to get started, what a beautiful way to do that. Or even if somebody is well established in maybe one medium, to try another and see what they can do with that. I know just going through the exhibition at the fair each year, I love seeing everyone's work. It's just so fun. And to have access to 75,000 people, that is extraordinary. That is really wonderful. And the other thing that I've noticed at the fair is that it's people from all walks of life who are there. Some people who are there because they're looking for the next new great artist, and some maybe have an idea of something that they would like to purchase, also very affordable. So tell us about some other ways in which the arts are a part of the fair and
Sure.
the fair experience.
Well, we talked about performances, and they have, I know K-Wave usually does Our Community's Got Talent or Monterey's Got Talent,
Yeah,
so a talent
wonderful.
show. Also, there's a community stage, and they ask for community performers to come and perform, so it could be your very first performance on the fair, at the fairgrounds.
That's fantastic.
Another way we talked about is entering, they usually have a poster contest, and people's artwork gets incorporated into fair posters or other event posters. So if you've got that talent, or if you have a vision for something, it can be a wonderful way to get thousands of impressions as well if you're like a festival artist.
And just a wonderful springboard for so many things. You just need to know where it'll go from there.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about, you have other projects that you help to publicize, and is it the Wine Fest? Is that the right
Yes.
name for that wonderful event?
Yes, it's the first ever wine fest, and Jeff Moses, and the who's done the Monterey, he created the Monterey Beer Fest, is helping to create this wine fest, and also it's a benefit for the Monterey County Fair Heritage Foundation. And we did
nice.
talk about how it's good to work with nonprofits, so there you go, there's an example.
good.
And we'll have 100 wines and music and beer, craft beer, and a DJ, but we will have graffiti artists painting live during the festival on July 27th, and we'll have a People's Choice Award. So it's a great way to blend graffiti art, which is art without borders,
Yeah.
without frames, into a public event.
That's fantastic. I mean, you see so many different ways that people can experience the arts in Monterey County. And it doesn't have to be expensive. Sometimes when people are thinking of the arts, they think about expensive paintings on somebody else's wall. And I think with the fair and with the Wine Fest, here you have already 2 examples of wonderful ways that people can participate that's totally affordable.
Absolutely.
Totally accessible and fun.
There's just so many ways you can get involved and use your artistic talents in our community. We welcome it.
Yes, fantastic. And I know you have some ideas in the back of your mind for other ways to bring the arts to Monterey County and to help connect people through the arts.
Yes, this weekend my husband and I had read about a book signing with Sam Cutler, and he was I think he was one of the original managers of the Rolling Stones.
Oh,
And
wow.
Joel Selvin, the San Francisco Chronicle longtime entertainment editor, came down from San Francisco to Santa Clara, and there's a new art gallery called Studio Bongiorno. That's what it's called,
very
in
nice.
Santa Clara. Yeah, and the man's name is Phil Bongiorno. And he's created this space that's kind of casual and relaxed, and he had about 100 people come and sit and enjoy this book signing, see all of the art in the art gallery, have some wine. He's got outdoor seating, indoor seating, and I just would love to see something like that happen here. And I'm very encouraged for people to go up to Santa Clara to that too, to some of his events.
Well, thanks again for being with us today, Wendy. Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much for sharing your great perspective and all your wonderful energy. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Walter Ryce. I'm the Arts and Entertainment writer at the Monterey County Weekly, and I'm glad to have on the show as my guest Jan Wagstaff. She is a longtime painter of nature and a member of the Carmel Art Association, and will be having a show there in September. Jan, thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, you're welcome. It's a pleasure.
You had early on the influence of art and also architecture from your grandfather. Can you talk about that?
My grandfather, who I didn't have a chance to meet, he died before I was born, was an architect. He was also quite a draftsman and a painter. And so in our home, we had some of his watercolors and some of his drawings. And as a little one, I tried to copy his watercolors. That was kind of my introduction to image making. And I would be intrigued with the scenes of his, both in Scotland and also Marin County.
It seems early on we already have sort of a foundation of artistry, creativity, and nature.
Yes.
How did you build on that, schooling-wise?
Well, I in high school, I had an art teacher who was classically trained. He was quite a character. And he worked with us to do drawing, but his main focus was how to copy imagery. And some of the early things that I did that I was quite proud of were drawings, Conte drawings that were taken, that I did, that were based on tiny little images in the National Geographic. And I love the detail and the development of these drawings. So I had the skill of observation and the skill of copying, but I didn't know very much at that point about what creativity was, and I had very little art history background. So when I went to California College of the Arts, I was sort of met with this whole history of art, and I didn't quite know how to incorporate that into my thinking when I was a young student.
Okay. Your art kind of developed outside of a lot of these different art movements and the influences of other artists. So what did you get out of the California College of Art?
I learned the discipline of being an artist for drawing and design, deadlines. I thought I would be a painter, and in fact, I found that I needed to do something where there were really very few rules and regulations. I started working in the textile program. It was at the time when glass and ceramics, textiles were all very, very big. A lot of exciting things were happening. And so I found that it was a subject matter and a process that had no rules. So I could continue to explore from my own sensibility. I guess that's it. All the while, of course, having to take art history and those things. And as I developed as a student, I developed a more understanding of art in the bigger context.
Okay. Can you talk specifically about the this one painting that seems to synthesize both the painting and the textile work with the curtain?
Yes. I right out of grad school, I hired to run the department, the textile department at Cal State University Chico, and immediately as soon as I got up there, I tried to pull myself back into painting. And I did a series of paintings. The first one being a very large landscape on canvas. This was probably a 6 by 6 foot piece of canvas that I painted, and then I cut into strips and put on a tapestry loom, and then wove it with a transparent fabric. I then wanted to explore this concept a little further, and I was interested in the difference, being a textile person where textiles are actually objects, but my concern was illusion. And so I did a series, actually my first show, first sabbatical show up there, was a series of interiors where I would paint a wall with windows and cast shadows, and I would then weave the curtains on the windows, and this would be with a transparent, relatively transparent fabric. And so the contrast and the similarities between object and image was something that I played around with, and I continued to do that even after I left teaching there and moved down to the peninsula.
What medium do you?
Oil.
Oil.
I work oil on canvas.
Okay.
Sometimes paper, sometimes handmade paper, but mostly canvas.
Okay. Another of your favorite subjects, it seems, are reeds and grasses. What attracts you to a particular patch of vegetation?
Well, the first time I was aware of the two together was a pond, vernal pond down in Big Sur area, and the combination of the reeds and the water. Again, the contrast of the light and the reflections, and what was the reed and what was the reflection. So there was this contrast. And again, a curiosity. I went out to the Elkhorn Slough Preserve to look at the water, look for the water birds. That's another subject that I've done from time to time with birds. But I was walking out on the pathway, and I went by this patch of grasses. There were the wild oats. It was, 12 feet tall, maybe. It was on a little bank, and it was completely dense. And I was fascinated with it, and I photographed it. Did a series of photographs, and then I had the photographs for probably a year or so before I decided to see if I could investigate it in much the same way as I did the water. So how am I looking at this? How much information can I portray all of the sensibilities of this object, of this subject matter, to the viewer in a canvas? And that started my interest in grasses, or weeds, as somebody called your weed paintings, to realize that there are so many varieties, and many of them are invasive and are not wanted. They're a fire hazard, they're invasive, and all of that. Yeah. But the worse they are for the environment, the most beautiful they are. The mustard, the Queen Anne's lace. In fact, I just recently revisited the Queen Anne's lace painting in an image called Ancient. These are the stalks of Queen Anne's lace, probably a season or more later, where all that's left are the beautiful colors that are in the stalks and the fine texture that laces over the background. And again, you know, my interest in how I'm seeing it and what I'm seeing, and so in this body of work that I'm doing for the show seems to be more about grasses, and I think it's my interest being piqued this spring because there were a lot of them around. And
I want to thank you, Jan, for coming on to the show.
Thank you, Walter.
It is a real thrill to be in the studio with my next guest here. He is an author, an artist, an activist, and a business consultant to some of the Fortune 500's top companies. Bob Sadler, welcome to the Arts of the Answer.
Well, thank you. It's nice to be here.
You know, the name of the show is The Arts of the Answer, and I am just so excited about the way that you have found throughout your life to take aspects of the arts and apply them to life and effect positive change. And I've never met anyone who is more exemplary of the arts are the answer than you. Let's start out, though, with when you first got into photography. Was it in Vietnam, or?
It was in Vietnam that I first picked up a camera, other than the Brownie Hawkeye back in elementary school. But the first serious attempt to take photographs came when I was in Vietnam, and essentially I wanted to bring back that experience somehow. It was such a big experience.
Yes.
I was young. I'd never been out of the state, and going that far away and having all this stuff go on, I really wanted to capture that and bring it back. And so I tried to learn as much about the craft as I could.
You also got involved in activism when you were in Hartford, or?
Yes, anytime I see a major social injustice, I feel very compelled to do something, even if it's something that's relatively small. And we got very concerned about the racist tactics we were seeing from banks, real estate, and government at that time, and filed a number of lawsuits and actually won those. And then became fundamentally a community activist as a result of that for the next 10 years or so.
You were very successful.
Yeah.
I mean, when you came back, or when you went and revisited things after a few years, there was change.
We did come up with a program that fundamentally changed the investment cycle in a neighborhood. So we saw that neighborhoods would, at some point in time, if you did too radical a racial change, like Jewish to black, or Anglo to Latino, if there was a lot of prejudice against a particular minority, the neighborhood would be limited to that number of people. Therefore, more houses would be for sale, then you'd have buyers. Property values would shrink, the city would stop investing, the bank would stop investing, the insurance companies wouldn't insure. And you'd get into this vicious cycle all the way to ghetto.
Okay.
And so we came up with a program that reversed that tide and got it back into the mainstream. So we were able to draw a line between a ghetto and an adjoining community that was minority. And that had never been done before. I was part of a bigger campaign for that, which did about 350 neighborhoods, each of whom had at least 20,000 people. So it was a significant time in our life, and I feel very fulfilled by all of that.
If we could now move then into what you're doing with homeless people. You have utilized the arts once again to effect a positive change. And tell us about that, please, the iHelp program.
Yeah, the iHelp program is a program focused on the homeless here in Monterey County. It's made up of about 30 organizations, mostly churches, who each agree that one night a month they will take 30 homeless men and provide shelter in their building. And they will also provide a warm meal when the men arrive at 6 o'clock. And that program has been great. It's been around for 20 years here. Our church, the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Monterey Peninsula over in Carmel, is one of those. And we decided last year to refresh our congregation in what that's all about.
Okay.
You know, it was working, but people had lost sight of it. It was the same 5 families bringing the food every month, and everyone else said, yeah, we help the homeless. But people had lost sight of what that was all about. So they asked me to take, because I'm comfortable with the camera, they asked me to take portraits of these guys and bring them to a service. And we did a little fundraiser. And so I did that, and in the process, well, and of course, I had never done that, and I'm not a portrait photographer as such, but I was a man on a mission.
Right.
So I learned what I could about portrait photography quickly, used my instincts, and got some incredible pictures, but even more so, just standing with those guys. First, they were agreeing to do it with the camera and the flash and all that kind of stuff. And I looked at them like, I'm looking for the best in them. I wasn't trying to be photojournalistic about the truth of the horror of homelessness. I was, maybe because of what I was doing every day in the business community, I'm looking for the best of this guy. Right? So I would get into a conversation that would draw out the best, because that's my instinct. So I ended up taking these photographs. If you looked at the photograph, you think you're looking at a CEO, a famous artist, a priest, a minister. So you wouldn't think homeless.
Right.
And everybody who saw the picture said the same thing. These guys can't be homeless. This is not who we think of as homeless. So it was impacting the people who were seeing it. It was impacting me taking it, because I'm getting to know these guys. But then when I brought the 8x10 picture back the next month and handed it to them as a token of thanks, they would just be stunned at how they looked, because that's not how they thought they looked. It's much better. They look much better than they thought, and it got to be almost a ritual. I'd show up. 3 or 4 guys would say, yeah, I'm on tonight, take my picture. And by the way, the last guys you took got houses. And it was because they felt more self-esteem, and it became a thing that was much bigger than what I had anticipated. Sure. And so I committed this year to do 30 of those portraits and do a big exhibit next year. And I have 14-year-olds at the church doing interviews and stories on each of the men. So you'll be able to see these pictures and see what's underneath them. And as I get closer to the 30 and more people find out about it, it's getting to be a bigger deal. And now people are saying, well, why can't other photographers in other cities do this same thing? Because it obviously has a very big impact on the community and on these men. So I'm not sure where this is going, but I'm just thrilled with it.
No, that's an amazing story. And again, you have found a way that the arts are the answer. And Bob, I just love talking to you. I hope that I'm able to continue to do so for many years to come. And thanks for sharing with us today and being on The Arts are the Answer.
Well, I appreciate your effort in the community. It's a great thing.
All right, thanks, Bob.
Hello, my name is Berniz House. I am the Community Outreach Coordinator for the Arts Council of Monterey County. Today, we will take a look at the California State University Monterey Bay Lion Dance Team. Their purpose is to provide enrichment and insight into the Chinese lion dance and Chinese culture through means of music, dance, martial art movements, and other media to both the university and its surrounding community. If you would like to learn more about our cultural groups in our region, please visit our webpage at www.artsformc.org.
We hope you enjoyed the program.
And on future episodes, we would love to tell your story. So drop us a line at info@theartsartheanswer.org.
Maybe next month, we'll be telling our audience how you found out
The arts are the answer.
Thanks for watching.